Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts about the 40K universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about first founding legions as we get into the Iron Hands. If you guys have any suggestions for topic ideas that you guys would like us to create a video for, please comment that down below. Don't forget to put suggestion followed by whatever topic of Warhammer 40K you want to learn about. Now, specifically, what I want to ask is, what first founding chapter are you most interested in? Now, be sure to jump on over to our channel and check out our playlists because we already have the Imperial Fist, the Alpha Legion, the Luna Wolves, and some other chapters. So what first founding legion would you guys like to get a lore video for? And don't forget to click the little notification icon right next to the subscribe button if you guys want to continue to get more awesome Warhammer 40k lores. If you're new to the channel, just to let you know, we post Warhammer 40k lore videos every single day, so don't forget to subscribe. With that said, let's get into 40 facts about the Iron Hands. The Iron Hands are a loyalist Space Marine chapter and one of the original first founding Space Marine legions, created from the gene seed of their martyred Primarch, Ferrus Manus. The Iron Hands also believe that human flesh is weak and easily corruptible, and strive to replace their organic bodies with more pure bionic substitutes, thus closely emulating the faith of the Adeptus Mechanicus' cult of the machine. The appearance of the Iron Hands has remained constant since the Legion's foundation. Their power armor is painted black with the chapter icon on the left shoulder plate. Each clan company has an individual symbol, which is worn on the right shoulder plate. The white-colored squad specialty symbol, Tactical Assault, Devastator, or Veteran, is indicated on the left knee plate, while the squad number is designated by a Gothic numeral stenciled on the right knee plate. Apothecaries of the Iron Hands have the entire right arm, including the shoulder guard, painted white, as well as their backpacks. The white stripe is also painted vertically down the front of the helmet. The badge of the chapter is an iron gauntlet, symbolic of Ferrus Manus' metal-covered hands. The martial history of the 10th Legion is a relatively well-documented one, about which a great deal still survives on record in the present era, in marked contrast to some of the other legions. Alongside the other proto-legions created by the Emperor of Mankind during the latter days of the Unification Wars, they were prepared and armed in preparation for the great work ahead, and their initial outfitting and organization followed closely to the standard pattern set for the Legionis Astartes at the start of the Great Crusade. Their recruitment base is noted as being relatively widespread, with elements drawn from all over ancient Terra. In particular, the warlike culture of the renowned brutality of the population of Old Albia. It had a great deal to do with the Legion's early character, leading them to a fierce pride in a warrior ancestry that predated the Legion's founding. The Iron Hands were utilized as part of a large Legion task force in the closing stages of the battles of ancient Terra. Its first individual battle honors, however, are recorded in the wider Sol system against the mutant Scythers of the deep-orbiting Mycan aggregation. In the Legion's third large-scale engagement, the invasion of the planet, designated as 0234, or the Battle of Rust, as it would be commonly known to Imperial military historians, this battle showed the 10th Legion's particular martial gift for what they became very well known for. Planet 0234, or Rust, to give it a colloquial name, was an arid waste world, rich in pyrochemical deposits, oxidized deserts, and corroded remnants of vast long-dead cities. In order to exploit these resources, the orcs of the powerful and expanding Crooked Claw Empire of War Dog Kulo, a green-skin empire which expanded more than 60 inhabited star systems to the galactic northeast of Sarfania, had made Rust a slave mining colony comprising of millions of orcs and a vast shifting population of short-lived human slaves harvested in interstellar raids. Scouted out by rogue trader Hedrick Zuckerman and identified as a primary target of the early Great Crusade, it was into this alien domain that the combined force of the legions, with the Emperor at its head, slammed with devastating force, in what was, at that early stage, the most widespread mass offensive of this era. setting the future pattern for attacks upon widespread orc territories. The Serian offensive utilized the force of 11 entire Space Marine legions and hundreds of Imperial Army battle groups to assault scores of orc-held worlds as simultaneously as the variation of warp transit would allow, keeping the Xenos forces fragmented and isolated so that they could be destroyed in detail. The task of taking the strategic world of Rust and the liberation of the enslaved human populations there, thought to be a number almost in the billions by some estimates, was entrusted to the 10th Legion, supported by 2 secondary battle groups, one comprised of the Urshan Velites of the Imperial Army, and one comprising of the Halgatian Covenant of the Legal Cybernetica. Having already measured themselves against the savage threat of the orc race in lesser battles previously, the massed force of the 10th Legion, under the generalship of their Lord Commander Amadeus Duquesne, formulated a plan of attack which owed much to the feared and pitiless battlecraft of old Albia, a tactic known as the Hammer and the Storm. After forcing a landing via the brute power of their warships from orbit, Duquesne ordered the Urshan soldiers to make planetfall in full strength. He had them form up in a triangular deployment zone, many kilometers on each side of the waste plains between the 3 large orc settlement fortresses, in the corroded cityscape, and dig in. In this, they had successfully raised the storm. The orcs, bestirred in their millions by the attack from above, and ever warlike, poured from their warrens to attack the invaders. Within only a few solar hours, the plains were a bloodbath of shots and shells, mangled machinery, and blood craters swollen with broken bodies, both human and orc. Despite pleas of reinforcement or to be allowed to retreat, Duquesne waited until he was sure the bulk of the orc force was fully committed, swarming like a tide of black ants in numbers large enough to be visible from orbit like a spanning stain, before answering with the might of his legion. The Space Marines would be the hammer to the Urshan storm, using gunships and assault landers to blast through the hurricane of flank and wings of orc aircraft, which vulture-swept the skies over the battle. The 10th Legion tore open a hole into the bloated body of the orc horde and deployed in full armored might into a single mass spearhead, comprised mainly of heavy Malkador, Mauler, and Land Raider tanks. In the shadow of these armored giants, the Legion squads and the dreadnoughts formed in close and disciplined ranks, moving forward as a single slow-moving mass, lashing out a relentless torrent of firepower. The Legion went in unison like some immense harvesting machine through a field of ripe grain, destroying everything in its path. It rushed forward, perpendicular to the half-overrun Imperial defense lines, the Legal Cybernetica and the Legion's own rapid-moving skimmers and jet bike squadron spreading out in its wake to terminate any pockets of survivors and guard the Hammer's flanks and rear. On and on the orcs came to fight and to die. In response, the 10th Legion re-armored and reformed, meeting them in open counterattack, unleashing their pent-up bloodlust and rage on the enemy until the wasteland plains was choked with bodies and broken war machines. After days of near-continuous fighting, the waves of alien assaults grew fewer and fewer between, until they gutted and stopped at last. The orcs of Rust had not lost the will to fight, but had simply run out of blood and machinery to spend. At the end of the battle, the 10th Legion had suffered less than a fifth of its number in fatalities, a far lower figure that might have been expected if it had been forced to attack the ancient Warren Tunnel cityscapes and take them one by one in grueling attrition. The Urshans also suffered heavy losses in the opening battle stages, but afterwards they had been employed particularly only to guard the standing zones and supply lines while the 10th Legion fought, and many had ultimately been spared, leading to Rust being hailed as a great triumph, also on account of how little had been sacrificed to attain it. Having gained much renown on Rust, the 10th Legion went on to practice the Hammer and Storm tactic again successfully elsewhere against the orcs during the offensive. and from it gain a reputation for remorseless, high-coordinated warfare, and a particular fame for successfully prosecuting set-piece battles incorporating close armored vehicles, supported soon by the following legion. The 10th Legion's developing strategies were studied and indeed copied to a varying degree of success by several other legions, such as the 4th Legion and the 8th Legion in the campaign against the Crooked Claw Orc and thereafter. This emulation was not universal, however, and some, because they were ill-suited, either their temperament or fighting style, chose not to use this type of strategy. Very quickly, with its victories and developing tactics, the 10th Legion was forging an identity for itself in battle, and the name, the Stormwalkers, had been coined for them by the Urshans, who had come to view them with an almost superstitious awe. But what might have come of their independent progression will never be known. For in a short span of years after the sundering of the Crooked Claw Empire, news came that the 10th Legion's Primarch had been found on a cold, merciless world named Medusa. And those were 40 facts about the Iron Hands. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Of course, we're not done with the Iron Hands. That was just the origins of the Iron Hands pre-heresy, pre-Ferrus Manus. Part 2 is going to cover not only Ferrus Manus, but also the influence of Medusa, which is the planet where Ferrus Manus landed on. The influence of those recruits into the Iron Hands, and we're going to talk more about why the Iron Hands have Iron Hands. And their whole mechanical aspect of their lore. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to get that. Don't forget to click the little notification button right next to the subscribe button. If you're already a subscriber, by clicking that, you're basically subscribing again. YouTube is doing this goofy thing indefinitely now. If you watch YouTube channels, you'll understand how important that button is. But basically, by you guys clicking that button, you're telling YouTube, hey, this channel is awesome. I want to get more videos from them. This is my way of supporting. So help support us. Click that notification button, like, comment, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.